Hey, what's up, everybody? Hopefully you can hear me this time. Technical difficulties. Let's try this again. This is Jesse, JLS Comics, and you're watching Comic Conversation. Today we're actually going to be doing a catch-up video based on missing it yesterday. So I was actually sick, so we didn't get to the show. We do it every Thursday night here on JLS Comics, exclusively on YouTube. Did want to cover some things. So a lot of stuff happened. I see Chris just popped in, so thank you for joining me, my friend. Also, I do want to give a shout out to Tim over at Lords of the Long Box. He's going live in a few minutes as well with some breaking news that you're not going to want to miss. I don't know what it is, but it sounds like a smashing exclusive. So you're going to want to check that out too, whether you watch it. Jump over there and then jump back, wait to watch it as on demand or whatever you want to do. Check this out. Check their video out as well, Tim's video. So I just want to give that props to him for that.
I didn't even know he was going live with anything, but
yeah, I didn't tell the last minute. I scheduled this like a few hours ago, and then I saw him posting up about it. I'm like, well,
Yeah, I mean, I just so much has happened that it's just like, I mean,
yeah,
there's just a lot of news.
Exactly.
Honestly, like it would have been like, and had we been on last night, I mean, part of that news would have dropped like mid-show. It was like, oh my god, like this happened now? Wow.
Exactly. We would have been getting people in the chat saying, hey, so I've been like looking things up real quick.
We would have been talking about what we were gonna talk about, and they're like,
it would have been a different show.
Like, did you guys hear about this? Like, no, what do you mean? And then we have to go back and read it.
Exactly. I would have had to change up the description completely. I mean, like, shout out to Daniel Ibarra. Thanks for popping in the chat. So appreciate you, man. Thanks for this is kind of I know I scheduled it last minute, but I mean, scheduled it a few hours ago, but technically it's still last minute, right? So I appreciate anybody that does stop by. It's outside of our normal schedule. It's Friday night. We usually do our updates like what we did throughout the week, but there's quite a few things to get through. So I just want to kind of jump into those. I will say for an update though that I did see John Wick 3 earlier in the week.
Friday night,
and it's a great movie. It's really good. I'm gonna be checking it out again, which I'm absolutely happy about. So hopefully, if you haven't seen it yet or waiting to see it, you get your tickets purchased for this weekend because if you like the first two, this one's it's so good. It's awesome. So there's that. So a couple things we're going to talk about tonight. Big stuff in the streaming world. Netflix has had some movement with them relating to both WarnerMedia and Disney Plus as well, which also relates to Hulu, so there's a whole bunch of stuff intertwined with that. Also want to talk about Batman. Potential for a sparkly Batman, a little bit more news about Masters of the Universe. Some stuff has been we're going to talk about this. What does in development does that like really mean anything? That being said, there's a couple new things that we know about have moved further in that development phase. What's up, Discovery Bay Comics? Shout out to him as well. He is a lot of people say it, but I truly believe it. Hardest working man on YouTube. He's putting up these videos every single day, telling people what to watch, when to watch it, and why they should watch it. He's a man of the people. Let me tell you, he does people a good service. He's our own TV guide. So really appreciate you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Talk about Rick and Morty as well. There's some like hot books, some stuff that people spec'd on that maybe they shouldn't have because they were mistaken about what was their first appearance or not. So I want to talk about that stuff as well. And then, of course, another huge thing that I know that you and I are excited about, Atlas Comics, Seaboard periodicals. We're going to talk about that, what that means, some of the stuff that maybe you should look for when you're out hunting. So we'll definitely, check those out a little bit later on in the show. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I did want to cover Hickman and some of the X titles too, right? Because we kind of touched on it a little bit, but when we first did, we didn't know a whole lot about it, so we know a little bit more now. So
we just went over just the overview, like, oh, it's gonna be cool to have him in. Yeah, this is what he's thinking about doing. We did not know what was coming next, and I think that's kind of that's definitely something that really, I think people have some hard feelings with. I think, but we'll get to that when we get them, and just wow. just I'm saying within the past 24 hours, just a lot of news has dropped, and
It's
it's
crazy. Yeah. It's really crazy. Everything came out at once. Every time I think it's like, okay, this is going to be a slow week. Like, it seems like it's slowing up. Like, we're in between movies, or like there's no big event going on or whatever. At least for that week. It's like, oh, what can I put together for the show? And then all of a sudden, boom! It just like that, it just like all dropped at once. So kind of crazy. So let's jump into some of the stuff. Big thing. It's one of the in the title for this video is about Netflix. Wondering, and I know the answer for this, and it's no, but is Netflix going to have a crisis soon? Is the question. The reason for that is the streaming wars are really kicking off like into high gear right now. There's been a lot of movement with some licensed properties and where they're going, and we'll get more specifics into that. But for the longest time, the majority of everything streaming was Netflix, right? They bought up everything. They would spend billions of dollars. This year alone, they're spending $15 billion on content, purchasing content, original content. When we first started talking about this, it was a couple of years ago. Can you believe we've been, talking for that long? But yeah, so we started like $8-9 billion. Holy crap. Next year it's going to be $17.5 billion. So they are spending a ton of money. And that's to be expected. They knew a lot of this stuff was coming. The streaming war stuff was coming. A lot of these other companies have built up their platform, whatever it is. Like Disney is using the same platform that they use for ESPN, right? Because it's a big what's the word for it? Proven platform that they can ramp up really fast. Thank you very much for the super chats. We will spread those around to the two of us. $1 for each of us. Thank you. So they've been spreading, stuff around. A lot of stuff been coming up. What was I saying? ESPN. They have the platform, right? Sports platform, ESPN Go. Yep. That's basically the framework that the Disney Plus is going to be built on. That same kind of framework. They can scale it up really fast. They're going to launch it on November 12th, and there's going to be, I don't know, let's say 1 million people all hitting it up at once, signing up. They're going to have to process all of those credit cards like in a really short period of time, get everybody, you know what I mean? So they need to have something where they can scale up really fast, and that's what they're using. So there's that. WarnerMedia is coming out with one as well. So a couple other things. So let's start with Netflix. So they've been positioning themselves, knowing that Disney would be pulling. This week there was a report, and we'll talk about a little bit more, from WarnerMedia. They're pulling stuff, not entirely, and I'll say what that means, but they're pulling their package deal. Let's call it that for now. So now Netflix is like, okay, well, what are we going to do? We're not going to have all the superhero stuff. We're not going to have a lot of this like licensed property stuff. Like, big thing, you might laugh at it, is actually Friends. A lot of people watch Friends on there. They spend like a crap ton, millions of dollars to be able to stream that. So there's that. They got Ultraman, which is really good. I don't know if you've seen it. I recommend it. Voltron's on there, Legendary Defender. Miller World, Extreme Universe. They just cut a deal that we talked about, I think a week or two back, with Dark Horse.
Yep.
Cut a deal with Dark Horse. They have like this really, it's pretty impressive. They worked a deal with Martin Scorsese for his new movie, The Irishman, with De Niro, and it's going to be like the new, like, you like the gangster movies. Yep. Right, the De Niro movies, like Goodfellas, the Casino, like all those. So this is going to be one of those like instant classic if you like that genre. They got a deal for that. They're doing like Rocko's Modern Life, Invader Zim. So they're getting all this other stuff to kind of fill in the void for Disney pulling out for theirs. Right. They ran a poll recently that actually said that a quarter of the people polled, 25% of them, would cancel if the Marvel movies were removed. So a lot of people want that type of content, right? That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that happened this week, kind of relating to all this, is that Disney now has full, not ownership just yet, but full control of Hulu, which is huge.
Yeah.
It's called a put call agreement, which basically means it's a tentative contract. It's 5 years. Once that goes through, so they have throughout that contract operational control. Okay. Comcast will still have their remaining third, but Disney now will be able to control all the content that goes on it. So then once that comes up, then they'll be able to, it's actually NBC Universal, but they'll be able to, purchase that remaining share. But for now, like they'll be able to actually just put whatever they want on there. And we already know that like Runaways is on there, right? That's fine. I'm trying to think.
Cloak and Dagger. Right?
Yep. They're putting Ghost Rider on there.
Yep.
They got the animated shows like MODOK. What was the other one? Tigra and Dazzler. Hit Monkey, and there was another one as well. Howard the Duck. There you go. Boom. Yep. And that's all going to culminate in what was it called? The Offenders, right? So they're doing a lot with Hulu. But then going back to Warner, I'm jumping around just because there's a lot of different aspects to this. What's up, guys? Hey, Cloak and Dagger's Freeform. So it was Tuesday, the AT&T CEO, he did a report, basically said, we had a deal. It started in 2011. We renewed it in 2016, I think he said it was. Basically, it was a massive deal, a lot of money, and it was a package. So anything that they want to be able to stream, they can actually go and, ready to be streamed, boop, throw it up on Netflix. Now what they'll do is they don't have a package deal. Netflix will still have to bid on shows just like everybody else, right? Mm-hmm. They can still get it potentially, but now they have to bid for it like everybody else. It's not like an automatic like packaged in deal. So they're shopping like Batwoman, like they just had a trailer for that this week, which I have my own opinions about, but get into that if you want. I think that one is going to be earmarked for the Warner streaming service, so they're going to probably pull that one back. But we also got news of Nancy Drew and Katie Keene. They're shopping those around, so Netflix could potentially win the bid and still have those, so that they could still get some of the stuff is the point. But both Disney and Warner, the two big players in the game right now, right? We talk about the big three, I guess.
Yep.
They're really bolstering up the content that they're going to have available. So it's pretty. Well, there's a lot in motion right now. Let's just say, those three big ones. Netflix is doing like getting up all this stuff to fill the void. Then you have Disney, who's getting ready for November with a ton of stuff: Star Wars, superheroes, Pixar, everything, the Vault. And then you got Warner over here, who's basically trying to do the same thing as Disney, right? I mean, they already have the DC Universe streaming service, and I've been saying that they should probably put them together, kind of like the Disney Plus, right?
Yep.
Instead of having DC Universe have like a. Because like Marvel is how should I say it? DC is to Warner as Marvel is to Disney. So if they can have like a bigger streaming service, that will allow them to have a lot more content, a lot more subscribers, and kind of viewership there. That's just my take on it. But
what makes it up though is just, I mean, the thing that I guess would make it kind of, I mean, the people, I think it's funny that I kind of caught in the middle of this. And what is going to be, I guess, kind of a crazy situation. I mean, streaming wise, I mean, if streaming is its own arena, that's one thing. But then content wise, it makes me wonder about like actual cable companies as far as what they're going to be able to have for on-demand content, even though it's not necessarily streaming per se, but not in the same way as like Netflix and all the rest of it. But I mean, the fact that you don't have those, and it's just like, and then it just seems like everybody's getting into the game of just streaming services in general. So it's just like, a lot of
the wave of the future, man. That's where it's going.
Yeah. It's just so much different stuff coming out at once. And it's just, I think that really Disney doing their own thing is really kind of a big blow to a lot of people, just because of how much they have and how much content they have. I mean, it's just that initial launch is like, because they have so much in-house content, it's just like, if you're Netflix, if you want to, you have to jump in there and be like, look, we got to do something, because these guys, especially if the price is good, I mean, they're gonna a lot of people are gonna snag a lot of people right away, and it's just
Exactly.
Yep. when the prices go up and push comes to shove, and it's just like, look, people got to make a choice either or. It's all going to come down to who has better content.
People are going to be forced to choose. Not everybody has the luxury or the financial means to be able to just get any streaming service they want. So they have to have that value proposition in place for them, for that to be your choice.
Yep.
It was Netflix just because of the amount of content they had for a while, but now it's there's probably going to be like an aggregate sort of service in the future where you sign up for one thing and it just pulls in like a bunch of different streamings to one.
Probably. I can see that.
Which is what cable is now, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of be like the next evolution of cable. I kind of see that, right? Mm-hmm. Wall Street Journal did a report. I think it was recently. I'll just say that. They said that 72% of the minutes watched on Netflix were from licensed properties, not from original content.
Yeah.
So,
and that makes sense just because you think about how many shows that were on there. Not to say that their shows aren't great. Like Stranger Things is amazing. Then they put up a lot of different stuff that's been really, really good. It's just when it comes down to it all, in the end, a lot of people like to just watch reruns of shows that they've always that they've loved going through.
Exactly. What's great is you watch a show for a few seasons and like you're beholden to the schedule on TV or like even like a few episodes they'll put on demand or whatever, right? So I had some shows that I was watching and I never saw like the first season or even like the pilot or like season 1 episode 1. So for me it was really fun to go and like find those on Netflix and actually see that like first episode or that pilot episode because they had those. So that's pretty cool.
Well, for me, I remember the first thing that I actually really got excited and got into on Netflix was when they put up Arrested Development. Just because I remember I used to watch it, but at one point it got really like when the season would end and they'd rerun things, it almost seemed like they ran them out of order. So there was points where I didn't. Yeah. I had seen so many different episodes that I wasn't sure, what was the beginning, what was the middle, and then have it all on and be like, okay, so this is how it all goes.
Have you ever had a show you liked, but you weren't like religious with watching it? So you'd like watch an episode, and then a few months later, you'd be like, "Oh, there's an episode," and it was the same damn episode. That's happened to me tons of times. Oh, yeah. Like, what are the odds? So, all right. So let's move on to the next thing here. What we'll be, sharing as more stuff comes out. And I'm sure, especially leading up to November, there's going to be a crap ton more news. Like Disney's going to have more announcements. Netflix will be buying more stuff. We'll share that with you as that comes through. Let's move on to Pattinson.
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson. So Variety came out with a report this week, basically said that it's confirmed that Robert Pattinson is going to be the new Batman in the Matt Reeves movie called The Batman. Yep. But Deadline and Hollywood Reporter said, no, that's not true. He is a top choice on a very short list of actors that are left. You got Nicholas Hoult. He's Hank McCoy in X-Men, right? Warm Bodies, a couple other movies. He's on the list as well. So who knows? It sounds like it's going to end up being him, but according to these other outlets that I do think are very kind of like primary source, respected outlets, in terms of the news they put out, I believe he's 98% confirmed. Let's just say that. Okay. And naturally, the internet blew up when this happened. I seen the pictures of the sparkly Batman and stuff like the toys.
That always kind of, I call that, I guess, like the Urkel effect, where it's just like, Urkel and Screech. And it's just, sometimes you play a character, and he can laugh all the way to the bank. He made a lot of money making those movies, but it's just like, forever you're gonna be that sparkly vampire man.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of typecast for it. Yeah. I will say this, kind of playing devil's advocate, just kind of full disclosure. I don't like this choice. It would have been my last choice. But apparently, after he did like the Twilight movies and stuff, he really kind of evolved as an actor. He's done a lot of like really quality roles. He's actually going to be working with Chris Nolan pretty soon, who picks Bale, and he likes Bale. Couple other people, right? That are good. So I don't know. I will say this: 1989, Tim Burton chooses Michael Keaton for Batman. And the internet blew up then too. The internet was like, "What the?" Not the internet. God, what am I saying? People, people like, you got Beetlejuice, who's going to be Batman. What the hell? Mr. Mom is going to be Batman. That's not cool. It's a comedy thing. Like Tim Burton is supposed to be like this dark thing, and you kind of going with like the camp. It sounds like people did not like it. Let's just say that. I read something once that like 50,000 people wrote in like hate mail to Warner, like saying, no, you can't do this. No.
Yep.
Say what you want, but it turned out to be a pretty damn good Batman.
Well, I mean,
same thing with Heath Ledger. People were like, what the hell? This guy's gonna it's gonna be horrible.
Well, that's because they had only seen him, and he's got the Robert Pattinson problem where people had only seen him in like teen movies and stuff, and it's just like what I think. What actually got me to think of him outside of that character was when I watched Lords of Dogtown. I didn't even realize that was him until like the credits came out. I was like, oh my god, that's Heath Ledger! Wow, he did a great job in this movie being this guy.
So I remember him from one with what was it called? The Patriot. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty hardcore. Mel Gibson. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah. I mean, I think he did all right in that too. But then it's still at that point in time, though, it was I mean, you can make the argument he just ended up to bring in the teenage girls, and that's that's what he's there for, because even though it was not even that kind of movie, it's just he just happened to be the actor that was cast in that role, and I mean, it was at a time where people weren't really willing to give him a chance as being that type of actor. And I mean, for everybody, it's funny that you say that everybody was mad about Michael Keaton. It's like, remember that who was Batman before that? Adam West.
Yeah, Mayor Adam Wee.
So it's just for me that cracks me up, because it's just like, all right, so you look at it and it's just like you have that campy Batman. It's just like you really can't. I mean, if this guy's taking a serious role of Batman, we haven't seen that yet, so you can't get mad at that.
Yeah. Shout out to CJ Alexander for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much. If you have a question, feel free to put that in the questions, or I think there's a little box you can add a question in there, so feel free. But thank you, very, very nice of you. What was that movie called? The Lost City of Z. He was in that. He's in this movie called The High Life, which is out pretty recently. I think it's out now, isn't it? The High Life.
I'm not sure.
Like a sci-fi movie.
What I know is just I think I can agree with that too. Like, especially bringing up Heath Ledger in that way.
Yeah.
Is that he, even though he's cast as that one type of character, he's been the twinkling vampire for a while. It's just, if you give him more stuff to be in, you never know. Like, he might come around and be like, he might be like, this isn't that bad of a choice, so long as I can see him do it.
Right. He's not like the number one pick. He's not the obvious choice. But I would say, based on some of the past ones, give it a chance. See, at least wait to see, I don't know, something before we pass judgment. So quick to pass judgment. We're so quick to do that as a fandom these days. So
I don't think really can get anybody. I mean, with Batman, everyone's gonna have this guy's not tall enough. He's not this. It's just.
What about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? That guy's too damn tall. That's the Broadway guy. He's gonna be Wolverine? No, but. Yeah. That worked out pretty well. What was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna
say. Yeah, look at the list again.
He has been judged. Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. A lot of people. Okay, so Pattinson's Batman. So they're gonna have, like, it sounds like, and this is rumor, strong rumor from quite a few people. Penguin and Catwoman are going to be the main villains for the movie. For this movie. So people are like, oh, well, maybe Kristen Stewart should be Catwoman. That's a natural. Like, have them get back together again. Wow. It'd be funny. Yeah.
That I wouldn't be on board with. But, and for Catwoman, trying to pass over Michelle Pfeiffer's performances, it would be tough, because she was really good in that movie. But like that's Penguin, not so much. Penguin, they just
Yeah.
they Tim Burtonized Penguin and just made him into this weirdo thing. But I
Yeah.
think that Michelle Pfeiffer stood out. So I mean, I'd be open to seeing Penguin and basically that tandem again, just to see what happens. So long as hopefully they can figure out, they don't tell you the same story, just kind of updated. But
Right. I'm hoping for, because it seems like they have Nicholas Hoult, they have Pattinson, who's like in his 30s, who actually he's younger than Christian Bale when he started, right? Sort of youngerish, I guess you could say, or they could play maybe something a little bit younger. But I'd like a McFarlane like year 1 or year 2 type of story, something like around, because they've done like his origin obviously, and they've done the end of his story. What about like a couple years into it when he's still learning the ropes, something like that, and that would actually align more with where the DCEU is right now, in terms of their overall story, if that's still a thing. Because they had like Batfleck, who, there's another example. Say what you want about Batman, in those movies or the movies themselves or the DCEU itself. But for me, and I could argue this point, maybe lose, but I could still argue it, that Affleck was one of the best parts of those movies as Batman, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, well, that's all I'll say on that. So yeah, we'll have to see. It's not 100% confirmed, but we'll see. I like Robin Lord Taylor from Gotham. He's a good Penguin. Did you see that?
I saw part of it. I didn't watch all of it. I did see bits and pieces, and I think he plays a good Penguin.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely something that that when done right, what I mean, it's a good character. It's just something that really just has like he's a cool character, and he's got a lot that he can bring to the table.
Yeah.
But it's all gonna be just kind of a situation where I think you have to let people get that whole just judgment phase out of their system, and then kind of go forward. Just because I can tell you now, like the choice of Joaquin Phoenix to play the Joker was one I was just like, why, but
Yeah.
who knows? You know what I mean?
I think that movie's gonna surprise everybody. That one's gonna be yeah. I have a feeling about that movie.
I think it's gonna be. I think honestly, I mean, I'm going into it with just kind of an open mind, just because as far as I really did think it was gonna flop and fall. Not just because I'm not really a big Joaquin Noah fan. I've never been. I've never really hated the guy. I've never really been. I've never seen him do much that was like incredible in my eyes. But I think that one just kind of because it's not gonna have the regular DC movie feel to it. It's going to have a chance to really, be cool and just kind of take that character in a good direction. So
Right.
I think that's a good movie to put out there.
Yeah. I think it's going to be just very raw and visceral and just much more, not much about the story, but more about the character, and like his descent into madness, right? All it takes is one bad day, they say. So we get to see that happen. Okay. So let's talk about another guy everybody likes. I'm talking about Prince Adam, He-Man, Masters of the Universe, right? We talked about this, I think it was about a month ago. Noah Centineo in talks, final talks, kind of like Pattinson in final talks, to be He-Man. Again, another not obvious choice because physically he's not, looking like He-Man, right? He was in To All the Boys I Loved Before with Lena Condor, if you know that, who is on Deadly Class, which is a really good show, by the way. So basically, this is moving on. March 5th of 2021. Is it March? Yeah, March 5th is going to be released. That's the release date for it. You got is it? I always forget to get. It's Aaron. It's 2 A's. Aaron and Adam Nee. They're directing it. And then you got the screenwriter Matt Holloway, who was one of the screenwriters for Iron Man, doing it. It's going to be David S. Goyer as EP, and then Mattel Films is actually the one who's going to be producing it. So
Yeah,
There's some good pieces there that I like. I'm still hesitant on the actual casting choice. I don't know if they're gonna do like kind of like what Shazam did, two different actors,
Probably. I,
which
I,
yeah,
I feel like they're gonna patchwork He-Man together, and then but when he's Adam, he'll probably be just regular, and then I mean
yeah,
I'm sure they're gonna have him beef up as much as he can, and then if they have to enhance him for the visuals on He-Man, they'll go ahead and CGI him or do
yeah.
some type of like swap out with somebody who's got the build that they need.
I always thought that like with Prince Adam, how did nobody like realize like how's he like super jacked, and just like I
I
don't know.
I think in that universe, that's just the regular build of everybody. Because even Man at Arms is pretty big.
True, yeah,
It's just
true,
like everybody in there just to the guild, and it's just like
yeah,
so it's just like it's like there's something different about you. No, there's not. I
yeah.
must have been drinking. I don't know what I'm thinking.
Even Orko has like a 350 bench press, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
The Sword was sitting there squatting 1,000 pounds, just like I'm just getting my leg workout in.
yeah. He's the magic for it. Okay, so that's pretty much all. A little bit more news on that, I guess you could say. I just figured I'd mention that it's in the news again. A couple other things. We're just gonna move through these quick because I want to get to the Atlas thing, and then I want to get to some of these like spec picks that I think are pretty cool. Amazon's canceled the Tick, so 2 seasons. It's done.
Yeah.
This one's cool. Disney Fox. That's what we're calling it because it's going to be over on that, other side of the slate.
Mhm.
Is making the Goon. Pretty cool, right? It's gonna be animated, so this, voice actor. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I like the Goon.
That honestly, I think is the best way to present. I think that always seemed, and maybe it's just because I've always seen it in comic book form, but
Yeah.
that seemed like it would be a live action. Like I think that that and the Tick both I think are better animated than the animated features or series, whatever, rather than being live action. I think that live action Tick always just kind of it loses a lot of what it is.
Yeah.
I think that in an animated world, it works out a lot better. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good choice for them.
It's hard to do the crazy with the live action. The Gray Man says that's a shame. I enjoyed the Tick series. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you get to watch them on replay. Just your Amazon Prime, and you get to watch it anytime you want. Another one that's coming up, Matt Rosenberg. He's actually writing the script for his own property, which is Four Kids Walk Into a Bank.
Yes.
Came out a few years back. I think it was through Black Mask
Yeah.
Studios? Yeah. They kind of fell off. They haven't been around for a while. But this is good news. I really like Matt Rosenberg. I really enjoyed the story. And the fact that he's writing his own script for the film tells me that that'll be pretty solid as well. So good on them for that. Next thing, Deathstroke, CW Seed, which is like a CW streaming thing, I think, right? They're getting an animated series for Deathstroke. So that's cool, right?
Yeah. That's gonna be weird. It's gonna be fun to see actually if he gets called Deathstroke instead of being called Slade all day.
Yeah, like in what was the movie where he was in, and they didn't call him Deathstroke ever because it was like a kids animated movie.
Oh yeah, all the Teen Titans.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, makes me wonder. Like we've had Joe Manganiello, right?
Yep.
Did the test, and then he was in the end credit scene, right, as Deathstroke.
Yep.
Then we had Manu Bennett.
Yep.
On CW, right? And then we have Isai Morales for Titans on DC Universe. That's three different actors for Deathstroke. And then you got people like Will Arnett, Ron Perlman, right? Hellboy. It's Wentworth Miller, tons of people as voice actors. So it tells me that they're really trying to like do something with this character. So, those are always good books to have, but he's bound to they're bound to do something more with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's a cool villain, and they want to bring him out. I mean, I some of that might have to do with popularity in Deadpool. Even though Deathstroke came out way before Deadpool, it's just one of those things where it's just instead of having a goofy just crazy guy, you have a serious tactical genius out there. So and he can present a problem for just about anybody who's a street level and even somewhat superpowered heroes as well. So it's just one of those things. you know,
I'd like to see like a Arkham Knight Deathstroke type of thing, you know.
yeah.
That would be
I
cool.
mean, so you would basically play as Deathstroke.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think I think the toughest part is who plays him in a live action, because I don't think Joe Manganiello, I mean, at the time when they announced him and at the time that he was, doing that test and everything, he still had a little bit of screen presence because he was on with True Blood. I think was still going at that point in
Yeah,
time.
it was towards the end of it.
Away for so long that I really don't think that he's relevant enough for people to be like, oh, yeah, Joe Manganiello, yeah, we gotta have him back.
Yeah, what they meant, yeah.
It's almost like Terrence Howard being Rhodey. Like, nope.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody remembers that,
Yep.
right? Yeah. So, I mean, he's a good fit for it. I think that he's, if they bring him back, I hope they do, for live action.
Yep.
Speaking of bringing back, Rick and Morty season 4 is coming back in November. Happy about that. It's been a while. Finally getting a new season of Rick and Morty, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You like that show?
I honestly, I've seen like that's another one I've seen kind of out of order. So
Yeah.
from what I've seen, it's pretty funny. It's just they like I went from just kind of like small jokes, like because I saw it like I think when it first started a couple episodes, to like some really off the wall stuff when like Rick turns himself into a pickle.
Oh yeah, Pickle Rick.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, this is pretty nuts. So it's just that's something I actually need to sit down and like get into and be okay. Now I can understand all the humor and everything, just because
Yeah.
I don't quite get all that's going on, but it seems like it's pretty funny though. Like it just kind of goes all over the place, and I guess it has kind of like I guess I'd say like kind of a season 1 Family Guy type vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. That's why I like it though.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out if you get a chance. A few more episodes. Give it
Yeah.
a shot. Or wait till this new season comes out to watch all new content with the rest of us.
Yep.
All right, let's get into this Atlas thing because this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Atlas Comics, and we'll talk about a little bit about the history of it too, because it's kind of confusing for people. Some people are kind of like crossing streams, so to speak, in their stories.
Yeah.
We'll clear that up. So there's a library of characters, and they were acquired by this guy named Stephen Paul, who was the producer for Ghost Rider. You've seen that all over the news, which is pretty cool. He's going to be teaming up with Paramount Studios to produce these movies. They're actually going to be fast tracking. They wanted to. Paramount's going to develop them, produce them, and then also distribute them, right? But they want to start actually filming at the beginning of next year.
Yep.
First quarter of 2020, with the first release sometime in 2021, which is really fast. They were talking about like you have Akiva Goldsman on, who did like Star Trek, a whole bunch of other stuff. You can check out his IMDb. He's done a lot of stuff around this. Some stuff that's great, some not very good. But he's very familiar, with this type of property. He was basically talking about how it's awesome to have this opportunity. There's like tons of these characters, superheroes, sci-fi, horror, cops, like war, all different genres for it. So there's like a very large variety of the content that they have, which is pretty cool, right?
Yep.
So basically, okay, so this is gonna kind of rewind like way back to the golden age. Basically, Martin Goodman, he's this guy. He founded this company, Timely Comics. Then it became Atlas Comics, and then it became Marvel Comics, right?
Mhm.
And then sometime, I think it was right around 1968, Marvel explosion. During that time, right after, what was his name? The guy.
Goodman?
No, the guy who did the hearings, Seduction of the Innocent.
Oh yeah, I forget his name. I know he's talking about.
Trying to think of my time. Anyways, right after that, a lot of these companies went out of business. People didn't want comic books anymore. The distributor for Marvel went out of business, so they had to actually have this agreement with national periodicals to put out their comic books. Frederick Wortham, thank you, Grayman. So that's why they had like the combo books, right? Like Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, all that, because of that limitation and how many books they would allow them to put out. I think it started with 8, and then it kind of slowly went up from there. Anyways, after that, they sold to a company called Cadence back in like 1968. When Goodman sold to Cadence, this corporate company, he took the Atlas name with him. Like a year or so later, he started his own company called Seaboard Periodicals. I think they're based out of New York or something like that.
Yep. It was based in, I want to say, they were based in Manhattan, not Times Square, though.
Yeah. It was definitely like very centralized, right? Good spot. Kind of where the other companies were too. But he had all these connections. Like he had like a ton of like names of these people. So he pulled over Larry Lieber.
Yep.
Is related to Stan Lee, right? This guy named Jeff Rovin came over. He reached out to Roy Thomas and said, "Hey, do you want to be the editor-in-chief of this new company?" Roy said, "No, thanks." But he did it anyways, pulling in all these people. And they wanted to just start this upstart company, kind of like what Image did. He wanted to be the Image Comics of the early 70s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This young upstart, pulling in all this crazy talent. What they did actually was they had some of the best page rates around. They were paying really well. So they were pulling in people for these books like Neil Adams, Howard Chaykin, who was really new, Mike Sikowski, who I want to talk about in a second because it's pretty funny, something that he did. Bunch of other people, Rich Buckler, Wally Wood, Steve Ditko also.
Yep.
So a lot of big name people. Actually, for Howard Chaykin, there's a book called The Scorpion, first issue of that. One of my favorites of these, so that's one to look for. But unfortunately, it was a really tough time in the early 70s. The market, newsstand market was kind of diminishing. There was like the paper prices were increasing, the oil, crisis was happening. All this stuff was happening. That's why that was the time of the test beds for the direct sales market, because they were trying to like find an alternate way to kind of make this still viable. So come 1975, they had to go out of business because it just didn't work. This whole business plan didn't work. So from 1970 to 1975 was, absolutely. Go ahead. I had a conversation with Tony Fett here in the chat a couple of days ago, and it was a great time over on his channel. So check that out. He's going to post the link. So 1970 to 1975, all these people, they tried to do good, like 23, I think it was, different titles. None of them got higher than 4 issues. Nope. A lot of them were like 1 issue, 2 issue, 3 issues.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. But I mentioned Mike Sikowski. It was a couple of years ago, I think it was. I was talking to Keith Giffen at a convention. I was actually getting him to sign some Lobo books, which he's really famous for, right? The Lobo books. Yeah. And he was talking about like how we put like these little like hidden things in some of the panels, just because it's Lobo and that's crazy. So now I was telling him about one of our friends here in the community when he was working on G.I. Joe in that issue with the Cobra salute, right? And how that got through. So that he was telling me about Mike Sikowski, who actually you may not know his name. A lot of people may not be familiar with him, but he's huge. He actually was the one of the creative team with Gardner Fox on Brave and the Bold, right? Created the Justice League, brought over the Atom, Green Arrow, Hawkman over to that roster, tons of other stuff too. Anyway, so he after that went over to work on a book with this new company, Atlas. It's called The Brute. And he got into this thing with Martin Goodman, learned his book was going to be canceled, and he was pissed off about it. He was like, what can I do? So to get back at him, what he did in that issue was he wrote, there was an airplane that was flying away, and he wrote on the side of it 5H17. You just look at it real quick. It doesn't look like anything. But if you kind of pull it away a little bit, or like, kind of look at it for a minute, it's the word shit. So he got that through the publishers, through the Comics Code people. Basically, him getting back at Martin Goodwin was writing shit on the side of an airplane in the Brute. So it was pretty funny. So that was a story that Keith Giffen told me about that, which I think is pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he did a bunch of Sikowski, a bunch of other stuff. I think he worked on Young Allies, like back in the Golden Age, and he did like Ziggy Pig, which actually, yeah, see, 5H17. He did Ziggy Pig, which kind of had a something that came out pretty recently. So, do you know much about many of the titles? Like, what would you recommend for some of these?
I don't know a ton. I know
Yeah.
I mean, just because there's not a lot that was. I mean, they had a pretty decent amount of titles, but they just didn't have a lot of issues that went through.
Yeah, it was
One that
4 at most, so they didn't get a lot of traction.
yeah, like I've seen the Scorpion. I've also seen Moloch 2001.
Okay.
And it's just like I haven't seen I've seen, actually, it was funny, there was an Instagram seller that was basically just selling these off, and it's just like, it's one of those things where if you didn't research it, you might look at it and think, so what are these reprints, like Atlas? 'Cause most people remember Atlas. I mean, if you follow the history of Marvel, it's like, oh, Atlas, that's what they were called way back in the day.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to clear that up with kind of telling that timeline story, that it's not the same Atlas. It's not Marvel. It is Martin Goodman, but he left Marvel and he took the name with him. It was Atlas Comics, published by Seaboard Periodicals.
Yeah.
A lot of people call it Atlas Seaboard just to make the distinction. But I wanted to tell that story to make that clarification that they are different.
The funny thing too is, as much as they want to be like, as much as it's like, all right, it's its own thing, if you look at some of the covers and just how everything, I mean, it's very, very, it makes sense that some people might think about, like, oh, like, so yeah, maybe these are, some type of, maybe Bronze Age, like, revival of the old Atlas comics, just because
Right.
the way that the logo, the way that the actual books are set up, the Atlas logo doesn't look anything like it, but it's just like the way they did the covers. I mean, like, if you didn't know any better,
Well, they did the yellow strip on the top.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of like Marvel Comics, you know what I mean?
And it just seemed like I mean, like, you could tell that these guys either worked at Marvel or just had that style, and it was just like, okay, so it was very, very, very similar, and it's really, I mean, it's one of those things where I think that if you don't know the history, if you don't know much about it, you would just see those and pass them by, and it's kind of funny that, like, those actually are being like, that stuff's being options, are picked up for movies and stuff, and it's going to be funny to people trying to, if they're into speculation, if they're into collecting those type of things, trying to get some of these books, because I bet you they're not as easy to find as you think.
Yeah, I mean, this speaks to the fact that you see it with Netflix and you see it with all these companies, IP farming, like trying to get out all, to all this content. There's a ton of great stuff out there. All the big obvious stuff is basically picked up now. So now they're reaching out to these more, let's call it esoteric properties. There's one that I really like. It's a magazine format, very much like Conan of the time, right? It's called Devilina.
Wolf is the what's it called? Thor kind of book.
Yeah. So this one was really cool. Only a couple issues really. And it would have done well, but you had Conan, you had all this other dark fantasy stuff at the time, and it was like borderline, like oversaturated. So it didn't do well. But I think that would be a property that would be cool to look for. Also, Grim Ghost. I'll just name a few of them. Devilina, I said. Demon Hunter. I think you mentioned that, right?
Demon Hunter, and then I said.
Oh, I see. Gray Man said Demon Hunter.
Yep.
The Brute I mentioned. Iron Jaw is cool.
Yep.
You also have Sergeant Hawk. He was in a book called what was it? Blazing Battle Tales, was it? Is that right? Yeah. Yep. Scorpion I mentioned. Savage Combat Tales is cool. Yeah, this guy named Sergeant Stryker in there. So those are kind of the big. Tiger Man as well. That's another big one. Then a couple of them were actually.
So don't forget that was a cool looking one too.
Which one?
Planet of Vampires.
Oh right, yeah. I think you said that in there too. Cool. What was the one? I can't remember. there was a couple of these that actually were inspired by inspired Marvel, I should say. They put out a couple books based on some of these characters. So yeah, so definitely check them out. Be on the lookout for them, I would say. You could probably pick them up still really cheap. And they're only a couple issues, so it's not going to be too crazy. The only one that's going to be really crazy, and it's not a comic book, it's a magazine, and it's super rare. It's actually called My Secret, and it's got like the sex junkie sort of cover on this chick with like a Captain America shirt. But so that's the first issue. The second issue, there's actually right now probably more come out of the woodwork now that this is announced, but there's actually one known to have survived and is still in existence. Only one copy of that left out there. So that's My Secret. It's a magazine, issue number 2. So that's probably the absolute rarest of all of the Atlas board issues. Yeah.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. Sleepy Reader, what's up? He says, I guess the thing about Atlas is that it was never linked into a shared universe. Yeah, that's kind of like the story style du jour, seems like, right?
Yeah. But it makes sense, though, just because they were just coming out. So, I mean, they didn't have a lot of time, really, to link everything all together. But
yeah. When you're doing, like, 1 or 2 issues at best, there's not a whole lot of, like, build up there. There's another one that's super rare. It's called... what's it called? Gothic Romances. That's it. I believe it's a magazine format, but it's still Seaboard, so still same company. So
again, I think that actually kind of helps them too. That is not shared. That you can kind of go with movies that will kind of stick within just the book itself. So you don't have to worry about. I mean, they could connect them, I guess, but there's so many different stories and genres. It'd be a tough task. So I think that it's gonna be cool to see them, kind of some of the stuff come out, and then if you were a collector of that stuff, or if you and you like that stuff from back in the day, I mean, it's kind of fun to see it kind of come out. And they did try to have kind of a resurgence, kind of to bring some back. I think it was like in 2000 or so.
Sorry. Yeah.
But
we're talking about the Scorpion, Howard Chaykin.
Yep.
The inspiration for Dominic Fortune was the Scorpion, right? Yep. So that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah. So yeah, there's not a whole lot. There's 23 titles and 1, 2, 3, 4 at most issues of each one. So you do the math on that. It's not, except for the incredibly rare issues like the one I was talking about with it's only one. It's not going to be like an immense task, especially now that we have like eBay and stuff. So should be out there. Check your dollar bins though. Look for these, if you're so inclined. And like we said, there's a whole variety of genres. Like there's cops and robbers, there's war, there's horror, all types of stuff, superhero, but I really think I would really like to see the Devilina as made into something, right?
Yeah.
Sister of Satan, that was more of the magazine size format one, but hey, it still counts. They still got it with this deal. So
that'd definitely be cool.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's change gears, talk about some issues that have come out recently. Oh yeah, that one is that's right. Sleepy Reader says the romance comic Vicky is hard to find. This is Chad Harden too. So I'm not going to spoil anything. So we're just going to go through a couple issues here and then kind of be on our merry way because it's Friday night here. Walking Dead. Do you read Walking Dead?
I haven't in a bit, but
okay. So I will say issue 191 is an issue you're going to want to get. Probably 192 also. Unfortunately, final order cutoff was earlier this week, so your shop will get what they get. But that'll be a book that we'll be talking about it, I'm sure, on the show. Let me just say that, and I'm not going to spoil it. So there's that. Incredible Hulk. Are you reading that at all?
No,
Immortal Hulk. I mean,
I haven't been. I've honestly, it came out at a time where I was like, I can't get too many more titles right now. I'm gonna leave this one. That was one I should have definitely picked up, but that's
still a really hot book. That's just but it's on everybody's radar now, and their print runs are massive.
Yeah.
And they're doing second, third, fourth printings, and they're doing ratio variants for all those. So, if you can get the earlier issues, obviously are going to be the ones, to get, in terms of that. They're doing like first appearances and villains and all this stuff in these. I think 18 is coming out soon. Like they just had like, what's her name? Like the Red Harpy or something like that. Red She-Hulk, all this stuff. So yeah, so they're still out there. Talking about a lot of first appearances, we just had Agents of Atlas, part of War of the Realms. Did you pick that up? I just picked up the cover A, but there's a ratio variant for that. That's a really nice cover.
Wow.
Yeah. But they're actually doing, and this is the one I wanted to talk about, a second print for the first issue that actually features on the cover one of the new characters, new to comic books. Her name's Luna Snow. Really beautiful cover. But she's from this game called Future Fight, a really popular game, and really popular. I believe she's a Korean character. She's drawn by a really awesome Korean artist who's done, like, he did that Ghost Spider, that Recalled issue, tons of stuff like that. Really amazing artist. I couldn't think of the word. So there's going to be that, and I think there's going to be a ratio variant for that second print as well. But that's going to be one that I think a lot of people are going to want to pick up. Second print for Agents of Atlas #1 with Luna Snow on the cover. Are you reading Naomi?
No, I
Okay.
like that's the thing is it's like there's so many different ones that come on. It's like, oh
yeah, there's a lot. Yeah,
I don't make that much money, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
But,
so
yeah.
Naomi issue #5 just came out.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of issues I've been looking about it all over the internet, all over Facebook, tons of defects. And these came actually right from the manufacturer. So there's I've seen examples of missing pages that are upside down, like bindery issues, with the way it's folded. I've seen missing staples, just like general damage that we always see, like blunted corners. And I just can't believe that all got past quality control. And I was talking with somebody actually on the CBCS forum, Captain Mike, he's a really great presser, by the way, about that. I'm like, hey, if a staple's missing, is it still a 9.8 candidate? And he's like, well, the way to check is look and see if there are no staple holes in the pages. That means it's considered a bindery error, and it won't be counted against you. So those staple holes have to be missing, meaning that's how it came, from the plant, basically. So that's interesting, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, even with a staple missing, technically,
Yeah. Oh, I
be a
mean,
9.8.
that makes sense.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
I guess you could still consider it an intact book just because staple never went into that portion of the book. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, with no staple holes, it would never meant to have a staple technically. So yeah. But that's interesting. If anybody here in the chat, or if you're listening later, if you picked up Naomi #5 and had some sort of issue with it in terms of damage or something missing, I'd be curious about that. So let me know. It wasn't every book, but it was enough that it was noticed by myself and others. Okay, so one book that I'm looking forward to is coming out. Donny Cates has been teasing the hell out of it, telling people to get it. Silver Surfer Black. I'm really looking forward to that. Donny Cates, it's going to be crazy. Although FOC was this week. That's final order cutoff. I will say it's very visible. A lot of people are going to be picking it up, and I'm sure the print run is going to be large. Also, there's going to be a crap ton of variants for it. So, that's going to be one that I think you pick up just to enjoy the story. If you're looking for a flip on it or something, that probably won't happen with that book. So yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm looking forward to, that book.
Yeah, no, that'll be getting picked up just because, I loved what he did with the Thanos, with that whole series, and so I'm excited to see what he can do with Silver Surfer. So that is definitely getting bought by me. I will say that now.
Yeah, and that's spinning right out of the story from Guardians, I think it was, right?
Yep.
So we had a lot of talk. I know they talked about over on Comic Frontline. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man issue 6.
Yep.
With Spider Bite. Great story, actually. Really great story. But that's actually getting a second print. Yeah, Immortal Hulk, exactly. Yeah, so that first spider bite, if you can call it that, um, it's getting a second print and a 1 in 25 incentive ratio as well. So, that might be something to keep on your radar. Choose if you want to get it or not. But maybe something to look for if you like that story. So there's that. What's another one? Oh, War of the Gods. That's a back issue thing, an event from '91.
Yep.
Which has an interesting story behind it too. It came out around an anniversary for Wonder Woman, and George Perez was kind of pissed at DC because they weren't giving her enough limelight and celebration for her anniversary. So that was one of the things that actually led him to pull away from DC for a while. From that 100,000 print run on Silver Surfer Black, that's crazy. Yeah, could be a lot of those issues out there. So that book is kind of mis-spec'd right now, I guess you could say. A lot of people were picking that up. It's actually increased 400% in the past few weeks, in terms of what it's going for online, which is a lot of money. Mis-spec'd. A lot of people were saying that Cersei, who's in it, not to be confused with Eternal Cersei, is going to be in the new Wonder Woman movie. So that's why people were getting that book. But that's wrong. Her first appearance is actually Wonder Woman 17, which came out a couple years prior to that. But that's why a lot of people have been targeting that book. There's another one that's an error out there that I want to correct as well. It's been put out there for Amazing Spider-Man number 7. I think it's like the 4th volume, 2014, part of Edge of Spider-Verse. A lot of people think that Spider-Man UK is going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
Because he's in London and it makes sense, right?
Yep.
So people are picking up this Amazing Spider-Man number 7, which, it's still a good book to have.
Mm-hmm.
But he's actually in Edge of Spider-Verse 2 as his first, which obviously is a good book to have as well. And there's a variant for that too. So I would get that. But I did want to clear that up that Amazing Spider-Man number 7, while he's in it, it's not his first appearance. And same with Cersei with War of the Gods, not her first appearance. So there
that's
you go.
Edge of Spider-Verse number 2, which is the Spider-Gwen issue.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So
yeah. Exactly. There goes that one, right? And there's there is a variant for that as well. That's yeah. So, but that's his first appearance. I think, what was his name? Billy Braddock. Is that right? Spider-Man UK.
Yes.
I think it was Billy Braddock. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to keep with the the same letter first and last name.
Yeah. But they say, I say, if you can't afford, I guess, that first issue, people then go for what's next, the second appearance or the origin issue or whatever else might be the next sort of key issue there. Like you look at the Wolverine books, those first few appearances are valuable, not just that first appearance.
Absolutely.
So in a case like this, where that Edge of Spider-Verse 2 might be a higher price point than people can buy into, a lot of people. What's next? Well, maybe this book, you know what I mean? But in terms of, clearing up what is absolutely the first appearance for this character, it is Edge of Spider-Verse 2. So Kat said no. I don't know why. So, okay. So another book that's actually heating up right now is Strange Tales issue 169. Brother Voodoo.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard about that in the news. So that one's picking up. Do you have that book already?
I have I don't have 169. I have 170. Like my streak of second appearance collecting is impeccable.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah.
No, and that's definitely it's definitely a cool book and a cool character. Just when you think about Doctor Strange and just that universe, and then whatever they're thinking of doing with the the Disney Plus services and all the other streaming, like he's a no-brainer. He's going to end up being in there at some point, some way, shape, or form. So
yeah, exactly. So okay, so the next one I want to talk about This kind of was teased. Actually, I think it was Kevin Feige who teased it. But basically, long story short, the real Mandarin is going to show up. The actual Mandarin is going to show up.
Yes.
And he's going to have the 10 rings of power.
Yep.
So those are shows. So we're going from the gauntlet with the gems to the 10 rings of power, right? So that is interesting. But where could he be? What movie would he show up in? And I'm going to say Shang-Chi. I think that's a good place for the Mandarin.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think that when you don't have him in Iron Man, rather than have him go up against either cosmic characters or magic wheels and stuff like that, it's good to have him start out against a street level character that
Right.
he is going to be more powerful than, because you can't have him go up against Doctor Strange. That's too tough for him. Him versus Black Panther, really, I don't think would be too much of a match. Although, I mean, as he gains power, you never know. But I think that Shang-Chi is a good place for him. And on top of that, too, it's, I think he's more, definitely based out of Asia. So it's just like you can kind of tie those stories in together and everything. So that works.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So kind of fits for me. But that's where he'd show up. So you heard it here first, or maybe not. We heard it here at some point. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say in terms of what's heating up lately, things maybe to look for at your shop, or maybe a couple back issues, clearing up of some things. So we did that, right? Happy with that? Cool. Let's move on to the Hickman thing.
Yes.
Okay, so this is big. We've had, a ton of reboots in the past decade. I don't know, at least 8, maybe 10. A lot. And even I think it was just last year, wasn't it, that they rebooted again and we got all the colors back, X-Men Blue, X-Men Red, the Gold, right? Which I didn't read because of the Sci-F thing. I stuck to that, heard it ended up being a good story, but I stuck to that. Same with the Al Ewing thing, but that's for another thing. So basically he said, okay, I want to come back. I need to do something here. I need to make a big splash. So he convinced Cebulski and the team over there to cancel all the books yet again. They're canceling all of the X titles. He's going to have House of X and then Powers of X. There are 2 miniseries. They're going to alternate. So you'll get House of X one week, Powers of X the next week, House of X the week after, Powers of X the week. So they'll stagger them. Miniseries. And then after that, everything will be kind of building out of that. That'll be kind of your framework for what's coming next after that. And that should all be kind of Hickman related. They said it's coming out in 2 waves. So basically the first wave is going to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. Wave 2 is going to kick off next year into 2020. That'll be the second wave. Who knows? We haven't read these stories yet, so we don't know. But it sounds pretty. I really like Hickman. I do. I thought his Fantastic Four was phenomenal. Very intricate and high concept, and sophisticated. I'm going to use that word. If that makes me sound pretentious, so what? And that's exactly what the X-Men need. When they were at their best, when Claremont was there, when Byrne was there, those type of guys, it was high concept, it was sci-fi, it was intricate, it was dealing with issues, but not such on your, what's the word? What's the phrase? On the nose way, right? And that's what we need from this right now, from the X-Men, or I should say. I don't want to speak for everybody. But the thing for me is the fact that they've been rebooting so much, and get this, the issues are going to be $5.99 each.
Yeah.
So if you multiply that, I think it ends up being about $70 for the 2 miniseries when you're done buying, and that's just the miniseries, and then you get into what's after it. So, but I want to hear what you think, and also what's your thoughts on Hickman himself? Do you like his writing style?
I think when it comes to him, I like his style just because he's this type that likes to kind of play with everything. So he doesn't quite go with what's just been established in the last year. Like he'll sit there and go back and pull some things out from, I mean, way back, and be like, all right, so this story that came out in 1974, like we need to explore a little bit of that into this, because I mean, this is just something that's kind of been hanging in the shadow that no one's talked about for 45 years. Let's go ahead and put that in there.
Right.
And it's like
That's what some of the best guys writing now, like Jason Aaron, Donnie Cates, they're pulling all this other like random stuff and making it important again.
Yeah. I will say I do know that the fact they're gonna cancel all the titles. My friend Kyle Walker is not happy about that. He just got his X-Men back, and now they're going away again. But it's not gonna be a long period. Like he was saying that I guess what burns him the worst is that I guess for him Uncanny's been very good, and he doesn't like that they're gonna go ahead and just get rid of it. But I think that Hickman on the he kind of gives him a chance to, after such a long hiatus, he gives him a chance to kind of go back to being, like you said, that like kind of like more sci-fi and just a big open world that's in it. I mean, and I think a lot of times too, like some of his critics that don't like what he does, or maybe that aren't big fans of him, are the fact that he doesn't tell a story. You're not going to get a story that gets told in 10 issues and that's it. Like it's just he's gonna branch it out.
It's a long game. Yeah. Which is what turns a lot of people away from someone like Tom King, who plays a really long game. Yeah.
It's just like, you have to, the thing I will say with him is that it's almost like one of the, just a good suspense movie where it's like, you have to pay attention to every detail, because if you miss something, like, oh man, you missed this. This is why you didn't get, this is why you couldn't tell that this was happening. But, I think overall, giving it to him and letting him do that, I'm excited for. I think it's going to be a good story. Yeah,
exactly. Sleepy Reader said, might get me to read X-Men for the first time in 5 to 6 years. So that's pretty cool. And let me read this to you. This is from an interview with Jonathan Hickman. They were asking what's it going to be about. So he said, one of them, House of X, and to give you an idea for people listening what these are about. House of X is a story about a pivotal month in the history of X-Men where everything changes for mutants on Earth. And the other, Powers of X, is a story about the history of mutants in the Marvel Universe. So there's your differentiator between the two series. It works as a series of reveals and revelations where each issue of History of X that follows Powers of X and vice versa makes you reinterpret the issue you had previously read. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Like you read something and then that just flips it on, and then obviously at the end, they crash together in a way that propels us forward into a new X universe. Yeah. And then in the same interview, he was talking about like what's going on with this. So he said this. We kind of touched on it a minute ago. We needed to sell the idea that this is what we're going to be doing for the next few years. So hopefully that means no reboots. So if you want to read X-Men books during the run from late July through September, House of X and Powers of X are the only new X books available. And everything that's going to follow is based on them, which is what we were just saying, right? We wanted to be clear to the fans, to the stores, and just as importantly to the creators who are going to be staffing these books in the future, we wanted the message to be very clear. This is a whole new era for the X-Men. This is what we're doing now. So that sounds pretty cool. For that while, sure, it is the $5.99 each, but it's the only two there. So, it cuts it down. But it's interesting. Like you'll read which one is it? House of X. So it's talking about something, a certain month, a pivotal month, something major happened in history, and we'll read it, we'll interpret it, and then we'll get to Powers of X, which talks about the history of the X-Men, maybe something that led up to it, and we'll just have a whole different understanding of that previous issue, and then it will keep going on like that. So I'm really intrigued by this, and it sounds really Hickman-y, for lack of a better way to put it. So, yeah.
Sounds cool, and I like that. I actually like Sleepy Reader's comment, where it's just one of those situations where it might get people, it might be able to bring some people back that have maybe washed their hands of the X-Men just because stories and changes and all these different things that happened, and maybe because they got away from some of the stuff that they were looking forward, that they had read in years past. And I think that that's really just a cool thing that he's trying to do. So we'll see how it comes out, though. I mean, just because, I think that he's a good writer for that. I think that he can kind of make that story. I think that he's got the eye and also the he's just got the imagination for how he wants to build that universe and that world and just kind of take things into, like you said, a new era. Because I mean, the X-Men have needed a new era for a while. It seems like for a long time, even though people would say it's a new era, new this, new that, plenty of new teams, plenty of just new lineups, but to take it into a new era to get people excited about it, it's been a while. And I think that's all they've really been doing, just staffing new rosters over and over again. But for the most part, you haven't really gotten any stories. I would say probably in the past, like at least 2 decades, that have really changed the way that the X-Men work out. Just really have been that pivotal to the actual structure of the X-Men and the story.
Right. And I've been kind of hesitant to get invested in a story because, they have been rebooting so damn much. It's like, why would I want to get invested in a story if there's going to cut off? It's not going to matter, And, I really did not like the time displaced X-Men thing. That would just come on now. That should have been like one story arc done, but that lasted for a long time, so like Sleepy Reader said, it hasn't been 5 to 6 years, and I pick up issues, you know what I mean? But to get kind of like back reinvested in the X-Men, which was kind of like my go-to when I first really started getting into collecting those Spider-Man and X-Men, right? And the Jim Lee stuff. Holy crap, this is so awesome. Yeah. But now maybe we can get back to that a little bit. And like I said before, I really did like the FF stuff. That was leading up to Secret Wars, all the the incursions, and we got the Illuminati and all this really cool stuff. So I'm hoping we get that sort of flavor again,
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I think that'll be really cool when they get it going. Just because I think that the first part of it is going to be just to establish the X-Men, and then later on, when he kind of gets it going, hopefully, a couple of years down the road, he'll start to incorporate some bigger stories that affect maybe the Marvel universe as a whole.
Right, exactly. Okay, the last thing I want to mention, and it's sad news. Grumpy Cat died. So there you go. We'll end on that note. So yeah, did you hear me? I said Grumpy Cat died.
Oh yeah, no, I just crying baby for a second. So
he's on some covers. Stan Lee, there's a picture. I posted a picture of Stan Lee holding Grumpy Cat doing that sad face. So hey, it's still relevant to the hobby. So all right, so that's pretty much all we have for this show. It is kind of a last minute show, making up for missing yesterday. My fault because I wasn't feeling well. So we'll kind of wrap up here. But what do you got going on this weekend? Anything you want to plug or tease or excited about?
I am going to what has been, I guess, called on Craigslist a huge geek moving sale. So it's just like a moving yard sale. So I'm hoping to pick up some stuff off of this yard sale, and just kind of gonna look into the stuff that this guy has. So hopefully I have a pretty cool haul coming from that. We'll see. I still do I've again fallen behind just because life got annoying the weekend. So I still have to show off my stuff that I got from Free Comic Book Day and everything. But I will have that video, I think, coming up on Sunday, and then just kind of show everybody what I got from the yard sale. So fingers crossed, because that's just a fun part of the weekend for me, just kind of going on the hunt and being, all right, what do you got for me? And hopefully they're good deals, and we'll see what happens. I get to see if I can put my negotiation skills to the test, and if I come back with nothing, you know that my negotiation skills need work.
Yeah. So bring an old Overstreet so you can quote old prices.
I should. This one here. I don't know. It says $10 in here. So what is it? Still $3.
Yeah. This says Hulk 180 is the first appearance, not 181. This is worthless. Yeah. So, all right, cool. So I got actually doing something fun tomorrow. It's BMW driving experience. They do these things periodically where you get to look at the new models and hopefully you get to do a time trial thing with the cars. So I'm looking forward to that. That's down towards Miami in the afternoon. And then I got a couple videos that I intend to post throughout the weekend. So I'm a little bit behind on what I had scheduled for coming out, not because I was delayed, but because I actually did other new videos in their spot, and that pushed those forward, right? Like I did one on what did I just put up? What was it? Thunderbolts. Did one on Thunderbolts. That was unplanned, but I believe that they're going to be showing up in a phase in the future, so I wanted to talk about it. So that pushed out something else I wanted to do, and anyways, want to catch up. So this weekend I'll put out a couple instead of just the one. So that's it. Shout out to Exile State Comics, Justin, our managing editor for Comic Booked, as well as Strictly Comics, our master presser over in Texas. I hope they're doing well. Hope they're having a good weekend. I know they're busy. And thanks everybody for stopping by the chat. Definitely appreciate it. If you are streaming us later through our favorite podcast streaming services or watching on YouTube, definitely leave us a comment. Let us know you stopped by. Chime in on any of these topics. We would love to continue that conversation in the comments. That'll do it for Comic Conversation. This has been the latest episode of our weekly friendly neighborhood podcast. I'll just say that. Enjoy your weekends, everybody. Have a good night.